Hey everyone, tonight, we're slipping into something ancient and soft, a story so quiet, it barely remembers it exists. The ground beneath your feet feels padded, not with dirt, but with moss as thick as memory. It's neither warm nor cool, just right. The air doesn't move so much as sigh, not out of punishment, but mercy. Memory, after all, can be heavy. Lethe lightens the load. The river is peace disguised as water. She doesn't scream or strike, she hushes. Its glow doesn't chase shadows away, it invites them in gently. You sit beneath it, back against the trunk of a sleeping tree. You remember the way sunlight felt through a car window once, or the comfort of a voice humming behind a closed door. But those thoughts, too, begin to loosen. You let them. You don't need them now. The river continues to hum. Its song doesn't end. It just slows, circles, sighs. Your body is here, but your mind is resting at the edge of something timeless. You hear a bell, not a toll, but the clink of ceramic. Maybe tea is being poured somewhere nearby. You let your breathing match the rhythm of the river. Your eyelids flutter. You remember a melody, but only a note. It catches your eye just long enough to reveal a line. Forget not to forget. You smile, though you're not sure why. Maybe you understood once. Maybe that doesn't matter anymore. The river is patient, and sleep is kind. You roll onto your side, moss cradling your body like an old friend's lap. The night folds around you like a second blanket. The Lethe flows, slow and silver, beside you. You think, I could stay here forever. And maybe, just maybe, you already have. A warm kitchen, but not whose. The memory fades before it finishes. That's fine. Lethe isn't a thief. She's a guardian of softness. You don't need your whole story tonight. Just the comfort of forgetting the sharpest parts. In her presence, you no longer need to hold on. It drifts by, carried by the slow current. No oars, no name. It doesn't need one. Some say these boats are ferries for forgotten gods. Others believe they are the dreams of the river itself, floating free. You watch it pass and feel no urge to follow. Everything you need is already here. The sky above you deepens into indigo. Stars blink awake, but only a few, just enough to remind you of the vastness without asking you to understand it. You stretch out along the moss and close your eyes halfway. To fear, to prove. You can simply be. The water continues beside you, whispering lullabies in a language you once knew. Trees nearby sway slowly, as though nodding off. One of them has grown sideways, roots exposed like stretching fingers. You wonder how long it's been leaning like that. Then you forget the question entirely. Lethe works quickly but kindly, a soft eraser in a noisy world. You trail your hand through it. For a moment, you forget what day it is. You stand and begin walking again, now along the bank. The river curves and coils like it's dreaming. At one bend, you find a round stone with something etched on it. The symbols aren't in your language, and yet, you understand. Here lies what was never needed. You sit beside the stone. The meaning comforts you. Lethe doesn't erase everything, just the weight, the noise. You think of all the things you've been told to remember, and how nice it feels to let them go, even for a while. Not in panic, but in relief. You're allowed to forget here. A shadow crosses the surface. You glance up. Someone is walking along the opposite bank. They don't look at you, but they don't seem dangerous either. Just a distant, maybe dreaming. Maybe you'll forget them soon. A quiet murmur floats ahead, drawing you toward it. There's no rush. The world behind you is already fading. You take one step, then another, and the silence stretches wider. It isn't empty. It's full of things you used to know and no longer need. This place doesn't want answers. It offers rest. No clashing swords, no galloping heroes, just stillness. We begin, as all sleep stories should, at the edge of forgetfulness. Imagine the dust of centuries settling into silence. This isn't a tale of excitement. It's a tale that exhales slowly. The River Lethe doesn't announce itself. It waits. Tonight, we drift with it, not to explore, but to forget, to release. So if your eyelids are already growing heavy, you're right on time. Pull your blanket closer. Let the hum of the fan or the soft creak of floorboards nearby blend into the world of the Lethe, where even your thoughts begin to wander off on their own. You walk through a forest that doesn't appear on any map. Its trees lean like they're listening to something low and soothing. The river appears slowly, as if materializing from sleep, a silver ribbon winding through the trees. Not gleaming, but glowing gently, like moonlight seen through closed eyes. This is the River Lethe. The water isn't loud. It doesn't rush or gurgle. It murmurs. As you approach, you realize the river is speaking but not in words. It communicates in half-thoughts and distant feelings. You kneel beside it. Mist rises like breath from warm tea. The scent is soft lavender, old paper, and something like a lullaby you've forgotten. You touch the surface. It's not cold. It's familiar, like déjà vu you can't explain. The ancient Greeks believed that when souls reached the underworld, they drank from Lethe to forget their lives. Some say Lethe is more than a river, it's a goddess, the personification of forgetting. The ground beneath your legs shifts slightly. Up ahead, a lantern swings from a branch. It glows like golden honey, just enough to light the moss below. A boat appears small, wooden, empty. You wonder if forgetting is truly loss, or if it's simply space being made for something else. Somewhere to your left, a scroll flutters open on the breeze. Somewhere between the moss and the mist, the world begins to shift. Not suddenly, not harshly. It leans, tilts, sways like it's half asleep. The trees nearby seem to fade into memories of themselves. Their trunks less bark, more suggestion. Their leaves barely more than sighs. Round stones dot the path like forgotten seeds. Trees thin, then disappear. But it was the deepest. He did not steal or conquer. He escorted. A steady presence like a mountain or a low bell. Ahead of you lies something you don't yet understand. A feeling. Maybe a kind of forgetting. Or a kind of becoming. You're not sure. But it doesn't scare you. You're curious, not desperate. The path ahead beckons, but gently, like a lullaby sung without words. It is simply there, like everything else in this world offered without expectation. Then he rises, and this time, he walks away. A few stars blink into view slowly, like eyes that are also drifting into sleep. The Lethe, far behind you, still flows, but you no longer need its voice. It has become part of you, a soft undercurrent in your breath. You think of the seed Hermes dropped earlier. Somewhere, it will grow. What it becomes is not your concern. Not anymore. The trees will tend to it or not. Either way, something gentle has been planted, back into the folds of mist. You do not follow. You do not call out. You know deep down this part must be walked alone. You sit by the pool, not to rest, exactly, but to breathe, to wait for something to settle. You don't know what it is, but it's arriving slowly, like a thought you almost remembered. You take one step, then another. Behind you, Hermes stays seated. He watches without expectation. His role has never been to decide, only to witness. Somewhere nearby, you hear sandals on stone. Not a departure, a memory. Maybe his, maybe yours. It was about permission. Permission to rest. Permission to forget. Permission to simply be. The Lethe does not take. It releases. Hermes does not lead. He walks beside. And now, as your eyes soften, and the last thread of the day unravels into dark, you understand something quiet and true. The kindest guides are the ones who need no praise. The deepest peace is not made, it's remembered. Or maybe, forgotten. You exhale, and sleep takes your hand. Maybe it belongs to everyone who's ever walked here. You smile, not because of joy or humor, but because something inside you has stopped holding on. You don't know when it happened. Maybe when the stone cliffs opened. Maybe when you touched the tree. Maybe when Hermes never asked your name. He walked with those on their final journeys, not carrying them, not deciding for them. Shadows are soft, like folds in a favorite blanket. While the Lethe makes you forget your name, your grief, your burdens, this fruit makes you forget that you ever remembered them. A deeper kind of peace. But not yet. You move on. The path narrows again. Roots arch overhead, forming a natural gate. Above them, etched in quiet script, are words you feel before you understand. Not all who drift are lost. Some are simply done wandering. You breathe slowly. The trees part. A soft wind begins to hum. And you keep walking. You come upon a grove, small, quiet. A handful of trees with thin trunks and pale leaves. Each tree holds fruit, faintly glowing. Its surface is perfectly still. It reflects nothing, not the sky, not your face, only quiet. Hermes is there again. Not arriving, just appearing, as if you've only just now noticed him. He kneels by the water, dips his fingers in. When he lifts them, the droplets linger. One falls, slowly, into the dust. It disappears without mark. He takes a small book from his satchel, opens it. The pages are blank, or maybe written in a language too soft for eyes. He closes it, ties it shut, places it gently beside you, tear-shaped, gentle. You reach out, not to pick, just to feel. The bark is cool beneath your hand. It pulses once, not again. You step back, unsure if it welcomed you or reminded you to move on. You respect the silence, just being there. You think of how rare that is, to be accompanied, not pushed. The cliffs part. Before you stretches a wide plain, soft gold under a gray-blue sky. Not bright, not bleak, just still. Hermes slows. He gestures ahead, not with command, just suggestion. Then he sits, cross-legged on the dust. His work for now is done. Ahead, cliffs rise tall and silent, forming a narrow pass. They don't crowd you, they simply wait. As if guarding silence, Hermes never glances back, but somehow, you know he's aware of every step you take. He walks beside you, not in proximity, but in presence. You feel held, not led, and still, no words are spoken, but the quiet between you feels full of meaning. You stand still, sensing something new in the air, not wind, not scent, something quieter, like the moment between thoughts. And then, just ahead of you, someone waits, still, patient, not demanding, simply present. A figure wrapped in silence, wrapped in time. You rise, breath deepening. You're not afraid. You're ready. He doesn't wear a crown, no laurel, no gleaming helmet. His robe is gray-creased, frayed at the hem. His sandals are dusty with long roads, and on his shoulder, a bundle of keys, tied with a weathered strap. His eyes are the color of stone, ancient, matte, unblinking. This is Hermes, but not the fleet-footed trickster, not the god of mischief and messages. This is Hermes Psychopompos, the guide of souls. He says nothing. He nods once barely, then turns and walks toward the river. You follow without knowing why, but it feels right, as if you were always meant to. His pace is slow, thoughtful, never hurried. The moss gives way to dust beneath your feet, soft dust, not harsh. The role of Hermes as Psychopomp wasn't the loudest in his mythology. He doesn't leave. He doesn't vanish. He simply becomes part of the space. As you walk, the air thickens, not heavily, but richly, like steam rising from ancient tea. It tastes like time. The sky dips a little closer. They say this fruit is part of the second forgetting. Farther down, a pool appears beside the path. He does not offer it. It is not for you to take. You lie back on the cool earth. The sky above is darker now, not black, not ominous, just deep. The grove hums around you, not in music, but in tone, a resonance, like a shell held to your ear. And in that moment, you know, this journey was never about arrival. There is a strange quiet that follows the absence of footsteps. When even the echo of Hermes fades, something else begins to rise, not a sound, but a sensation. It does not announce itself. It simply unfolds, bushes from like breath patterns, sometimes dense, sometimes open. Trees lean in gentle angles, and flowers bloom in ways that defy symmetry without becoming chaos. There's no path, but no confusion either. The garden is whole without being ordered. This is not a place of cultivation or harvest. There are no seasons here, no signs of decay or renewal. Everything grows together, new shoots beside old branches, unopened buds next to withering leaves. Your steps don't make sound, but they do make space. The garden parts slightly, not with deference, not with fear, but with ease. The plants fold back where you pass, then gently close behind you, lands gently on your shoulder. You do not flinch. It rests there, feather light but entirely real. But your footprints in the soil form quietly a record of witness, not of ownership. You walk through the soft foliage again. The way closes behind you, not erased, just unneeded now. Somewhere beneath your feet, a leaf still lies. Somewhere ahead, something will grow. You will not see it, but your presence made room for it. You feel no need to name it. The garden never asked for names. You were here. You stayed. You softened. And the pause that held you remains. The wind wraps around your shoulders like a worn shawl. And in that breath between memory and peace, you are whole. Ahead, the edge of the garden opens into a field. The soil is rich. Old furrows mark the land, straight lines, perfectly spaced. Nothing grows here, not yet, but the memory of planting lingers. You kneel beside one furrow and press your hand into the earth. It is warm, receptive, as if waiting. It is not marked, yet it feels full. It carries the weight of something not forgotten, but released. A memory that no longer asks to stay. The leaf does not demand meaning. It simply joins you, briefly, then lifts again, not flying, just letting go. As it moves, you feel something in your chest soften, not break, just to soften, like a rope untied from the inside. You pass trees shaped like spirals of hair, roots ranged in rings like fingerprints. A bush releases a soft vibration, like laughter remembered from long ago, but it holds presence. Not dramatic, not sacred, just enough to feel full. The sky here is low and quiet. The breeze no longer stirs, it embraces. You close your eyes, and even your thoughts begin to loosen. Not vanish, drift. They fold downward, not like falling, but like settling into rich dirt. You understand now, this is not a place for forgetting. It is a place for releasing the need to remember. The difference is subtle, but vital, and it rests in you now. You can't hear it, but your chest remembers how it felt. You think of someone who once told a joke. You can't remember who, but the warmth of their voice remains in the air. Yet nothing feels out of place. It is not chaos. It is wholeness without sequence. You realize, suddenly, that you no longer feel like a visitor. You are not separate from this place. You are not being asked to witness, only to be. The distinction between observer and observed is fading. You are here. And that, somehow, changes everything. It is not a garden tended by intention. It is a resting ground for what has been released, what no longer asks to be remembered, but deserves to be held. The garden comes to you before your eyes recognize it. It hums with stillness, not silence. In its center is a tree like none you've seen, not tall, but wide. Its bark glows white, not with light, but with presence. Its branches bow outward like arms resting after a long day. The leaves are nearly invisible, translucent and slow-moving. They flicker with each breath you take. Beneath the tree is a wide hollow part of the earth, not dug, but formed. Inside this cradle of roots lie objects, ordinary ones. A button, a glove, a melted candle, a page torn from a book. You recognize none of them, yet they feel known. It feels like the memory of music that was never written, like the place between two thoughts, things once needed, once carried, now gently placed here, not discarded, not enshrined, just given to the garden. The tree watches over them, not as a guardian, but as a witness. You sit down beneath it. You do not ask questions. You do not search for answers. The air does not expect anything from you. It simply surrounds you like the hum of something larger than time. You exhale, and the garden receives your breath like a gift that it already knew was coming. You step forward without decision. The ground below doesn't crunch or echo. It welcomes your feet like powdered feathers or ash shaped by kindness. It shifts gently beneath you, soft but stable, as though even the earth here is remembering how to forget. Before you lies a garden, but it has no gate, no name, no posted sign. Some petals blur at the edges like mist. Others shimmer with half-color, like the idea of a hue rather than the hue itself. One tree's bark is braided, not carved, as if made from memory. Leaves drift down that resemble faded handwriting, glyphs that no longer hold meaning or perhaps never did. You pass each quietly. They do not draw attention to themselves, and you do not stop. Yet you feel their welcome, subtle and calm. There is no need to know their names. In this garden, nothing is labeled. Naming is a form of holding. This is a place for letting go. In the center of the garden lies a still pool, neither wide nor deep. Light touches its surface and splits into shades of silver and silence. Nothing reflects from it, not your face, not the sky. It simply receives. You do not approach it yet. Instead, you sit beside a low vine that moves in slow motion. It does not twist. It unfolds, as if stretching in its sleep. One of its tendrils brushes your ankle. The touch is not startling. It carries no intention, no question, only presence. The kind that doesn't seek response. This is a language without sound, spoken in growth and rest. All around you, the garden continues in a strange rhythm. You begin walking again, deeper into the garden. A clearing opens ahead, not with grandeur, but with gentleness. These are not relics, not tokens. They are not sad, nor are they meaningless. They are simply finished. A single leaf detaches from a high branch. It does not fall, it drifts, spirals. You rise slowly and begin to leave the tree. Behind you, the objects remain. The light remains. A small bench appears, simple and steady. You sit. The valley holds no buildings, no signs. Somewhere behind you, the white tree still breathes. You walk beside the leaf, and the world seems to thin like parchment stretched over candlelight. Your feet brush grass that isn't quite grass, something softer, like woven breath or the memory of fabric from childhood. Each step echoes not with sound, but with absence, like something once said and long since released. Mist weaves between them like silk scarves caught midair. Somewhere within, a soft chime rings once, then again irregular and light, as if a wind had struck old bells made of bone. You step out onto a meadow. It feels new, but impossibly old. Then forget the number. They face one another, empty. You don't sit. Lethe continues nearby, curling behind a stand of twilight-colored trees. The path dips, and soon, you reach a gate. It's not metal. It hums the way the earth turns low, eternal, unnoticed unless you listen for centuries. But their shimmer feels closer, as though they've leaned in to hear you're leaving. The gate does not reappear. It no longer needs to. Lethe's current glides nearby, beckoning without urgency. A gentle slope, a final hush. You do not follow. You sit at the edge, legs folded, eyes half closed. There is no one to greet, no one to leave, but you feel the shape of having traveled. A kind of internal quiet. You look back the way you came and remember nothing in detail, yet everything in tone. The color of that mist, the weight of that hush, the shimmer of something let go. Lethe has not taken anything from you. She's given you room. You breathe in and breathe out. You return to its bank and find a journal resting on a stone. It is not yours. It has no writing. But when you open it, faint indentations line each page, like words written in dreams then erased by waking. You run your finger across one line. It feels like a sentence you almost remembered. You close the book, place it back. You do not seek its source. You sway a little to its rhythm, the way a child sways before sleep, the way a leaf moves in still air. You realize that nothing here ends. It only shifts shape, becomes something softer, the kind of existence where even pain forgets its sharpness. Only texture remains, like how grief becomes ritual, like how love becomes air. The voice hums on. You hum with it, barely. Not wood. It appears to be made of woven memory strips of color, sensation, feeling. You don't touch it. The river narrows beside you, now thin as a ribbon. Its banks curl like scrolls. The ground sparkles slightly, not glitter, but crushed memory. You bend to touch it and feel old laughter, softened by time. Just the echo of it. You do not gather it. Lethe does not hoard. You move past a cairn made of hollow stones. Each hole in the rock hums a different tone when wind passes. You pause and listen. It is not a song. It is not a code. It is simply there, like feeling without form. Instead, it opens the moment you decide not to stop. Beyond is a grove where no sound enters, not even your breath. The trees here do not have leaves. They shimmer with strands of pure thought. Not yours, not anyone's, just the world's, passing through. This is a place of unformed stories, not yet. The ground is warm and yields a little under you, like a memory offering space. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to rest in between. Images drift through your mind, none yours. A child skipping rope on stone, a kettle whistling, someone wiping their hands on an apron. These are not scenes from your life, but they comfort you. They are real and unreal, like dreams borrowed from a world just left behind. You feel no need to sort them, no urge to explain. You let them pass. You feel as if you've entered in the middle of a story already in progress. The chairs hold something, not spirits, not echoes, but expectation, the kind that doesn't press, a gathering that never begins or ends. You think of councils held in dreams, of arguments never spoken aloud, of decisions that arrived like weather. You stand quietly, and the chairs seem to acknowledge your patience. One seat warms slightly, then cools, as if it bloomed just this morning and also 1,000 times before. Pale poppies sway in slow unison, their petals the color of lullabies. No bees buzz, no birds wheel overhead. The silence is not void, it is velvet. You walk through it like smoke through sunbeams. A stone path forms underfoot, faint but sure. It does not guide you, it follows you. You are not led here, you are received. You pause, not out of caution, but reverence. The chime is not a signal, it's a breath, a sigh, a reminder. You step carefully across moss-covered stones, each one warm, as if held recently in someone's hand. The marsh hums with unspoken things, lullabies never sung, dreams never finished, the kind of forgotten that asks for nothing. The water flows slowly beside you, a silken line winding through thought. You realize that nothing here has edges, not the hills, not the sky, not your own form. Everything blurs gently, like watercolor touched by sleep. You don't resist. You walk softer, smaller, until you barely feel like walking at all. A hollow tree comes into view. Its bark glows with a faint blue shimmer, pulsing like a heartbeat. You place your palm against it, and the tree seems to breathe. Inside, there is a soft hum, not mechanical, not magical, just alive. You listen closely and think you hear names whispered, some familiar, some not. Not shouted, not claimed, just remembered for a moment, then let go. The tree is full of forgotten people, not erased, not mourned, just quietly kept until memory no longer needs shape. You move on, your hand tingling, not from power, but from release. Further along, the river widens, spilling into a marsh veiled in silver reeds. A boat rests beside the bank, small, empty, carved from a pale wood that smells faintly of almond and dust. It rocks gently, as if remembering motion. You step in. There's no oar, no current, but the moment you sit, the boat begins to drift, not forward, not backward, just inward. Across the silver marsh, time forgets itself again. You pass under low branches dripping with strands of something like webbing, something like smoke. A heron watches from the shallows, still as myth. The boat makes no sound. It does not need to rive. It only needs to carry. You let it. Eventually, the boat touches shore, not with a bump, just a pause. At the center of the meadow lies a circle of chairs, stone, worn, unmoving. You count 7. You move on without choosing a chair. You sit beneath one of the thought trees. It pulses slightly when you do. Somewhere in the grove, a voice begins to hum, not near, not far. When you rise, the trees have changed, not visibly. You walk again, slow and sure. At last, you reach a rise, where the river vanishes beneath the ground. The air begins to thicken, not like smoke, not broken, not dead, just empty in the middle. A soft invitation to pass through. You step beneath its arch like stepping under a vaulted doorway, and suddenly, the world softens. Even your own thoughts seem to hush. The River Lethe continues beside you, its waters hushed and opaque, not like heat. Below you lies a valley awash in muted gold, not the brightness of treasure, but the soft hue of candlelight filtered through fog. A woman surrounded by vapors, whispering truths and riddles, her words tangled in incense and imagination. Or simply nod toward the river and say, some answers arrive when the questions are quiet. That feels right. Most things here do not declare, they suggest. Some believed she channeled gods. Others said she simply said what people needed to hear. Either way, she was a mirror, and mirrors, like memory, only reflect what you bring to them. Statues stand among the trunks, barely taller than you, carved in postures that suggest neither triumph nor despair. One clutches a scroll. Their stories never made it past the mouths of those who watched, and even those witnesses are now dust. Still, the statues remain, not asking to be seen, but accepting it. Another a laurel crown. Another folds its hands, as if in prayer or surrender. It shimmers without movement, a quiet breath caught in landscape form. You sit for a moment at the crest, letting your gaze drift without intent. The silence between them is the kind that follows applause that was never heard. And when you finally stand, it is not with resolution. It is with release. Lethe continues ahead, its path winding like thought untied from narrative. You walk again, not seeking rival, but tasting the strange comfort of no longer holding every piece of yourself. Behind your ribs, a soft hollow opens, not emptiness, space. Space for forgetting, space for quiet, space for whatever might follow. You think of the people throughout history who won quietly, who loved deeply, who sacrificed silently. The moment memory proved heavier than hope. People argue over why he did it. Was it fear, love, doubt? But you understand now, remembering pulls harder than gravity. Their legacy is not marble or verse. It is this, stillness wrapped in form, but like breath held between words. It feels heavier here, but not unwelcome, like a library dense with stories. The path narrows. The light softens into a kind of dusk. You don't know whether the sun has lowered or you've risen above it. Both seem equally possible in Lethe's realm. Even the air seems unsure whether it should move. This is the sound Lethe leaves behind, not absence, but stillness. You watch the ripples spread outward, faint and slow. Nothing in the landscape responds. Nothing changes. But something inside your ribs loosens. A kind of pause between one version of yourself and the next. It is simply without mirror. You crouch and dip your hand into it, none of them demanding to be read aloud. You slow your pace instinctively. This place doesn't hurry. The path winds forward, flame warms, the slope is gentle. Your feet move of their own accord, no longer steered by urgency. The air grows warmer, not hot, just wrapped in stillness. Each step forward is like stepping deeper into a dream someone else began long ago. Midway down, you find stones standing upright. They do not form a circle. They do not mark graves. They simply are, tall, weathered, each one leaning a little, as though they've grown tired of ceremony. You rest your hand against one. It hums with the weight of something unspoken. You feel it, not in your skin, but somewhere just beneath it. Cooks, illuminates. Not a person, not a beast, just a sensation, like déjà vu without memory. You follow, not because you must, but because your feet are already shifting in that direction. It leads you into a grove you don't remember entering, but it also brands. It sears events into the skin and the mind. It teaches history. It teaches vengeance. In some way, fire is a kind of remembering, and Lethe, coiling silently nearby, is the cure. But the ground seems to pulse with memory, and memory walks slowly. A hollow tree arches above the path. To your left, the river splits, narrowing into a smaller channel. The new stream curves away with precision, like a blade dragged gently through still water. You wonder who first carved this side path. Not with tools, perhaps, but with longing. Someone, once, wanted this water to remember where to go. But Lethe forgets even direction. The split was kept, but the purpose was lost. Somewhere above, clouds shift with a sigh. Not enough to cast shadows, only enough to suggest movement. You imagine the Titan Prometheus watching from such heights once. Not with judgment, not even with pride, just weariness. He gave humans fire, they say, but fire was only half the gift. The other half was the burden of memory. You wonder if he knew what he was giving. As you walk, you notice small objects in the soil, a coin dulled by age, a thin wooden charm etched with symbols too faded to read, a scrap of cloth, barely more than thread. You don't pick them up. You simply notice them the way you might glance at stones in a stream, part of the flow, part of the forgetting. A hill rises up ahead. It doesn't loom, it invites. Like a pillow half propped beneath tired shoulders, you begin to climb. Each step is slow, deliberate. The wind grows quieter. The trees around you become fewer, older. Their trunks twist with time, marked by scars that don't ache anymore. Just stories they no longer need to tell. At the hill's summit, the world opens. You remember the Oracle of Delphi, or rather, the idea of her. You wonder what she'd say if you asked her where this path leads. Would she answer with a riddle? A silence. You begin your descent into the valley. A stream curves away from the main river here, cutting softly through reeds. The marsh beyond is silent. No insects sing, no frogs call. Then you feel it's something moving between the trees. The trees here stand taller, closer. Light dapples the ground in gentle pools. You realize, slowly, that this is not an ordinary grove. You are in the garden of forgotten victors. Not kings, not gods, not martyrs with epics. Just those who once tried, who once stood, who once mattered. You walk through them slowly, each step muffled by moss. And then, like slipping out of a thought, you leave the grove. The statues remain behind, unmoved. You think of Orpheus. Not his music, not his grief, but the moment he turned around. You reach the river's edge again. It widens here into a shallow basin. The water reflects nothing. It isn't murky. It isn't clear. The water is neither cold nor warm. It touches you like silk and leaves no trace. You remain there a while, not still, but quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like healing. The air grows still as you move forward, a silence so deep it seems to swallow even your own breath. The world here is muted, colors dulled like a photograph faded by time. This is not the roaring river of myths but something quieter, a ribbon of liquid memory weaving through the plain. You navigate carefully between them, each stone cool to the touch and smooth as though worn by the hands of time itself. Moss clings to its surface, weaving in and out of cracks like veins. The ground here dips gently, encircling a lone tree unlike any you've seen. Instead, there is a shift inside you, subtle yet unmistakable, as if something tightly coiled begins to unwind, a quiet loosening, a gentle unburdening that spreads warmth through your chest. You step away, carrying with you the sense of release as the path calls once more. The circle holds no heat, only the memory of transformation. You sit just outside its boundary, feeling the stillness enfold you like a soft blanket. In this place, even breath quiets, and thoughts slow to a gentle hum. The journey is not about escape or rival, but about presence, about letting go, gently and fully. In the soothing shadow of the River Lethe, the world blurs softly at the edges, as if seen through a veil of mist. Here, forgetting is not a loss but a gift, not a force, but a choice freely given. It has no leaves, no branches, only a pale trunk that glows faintly against the muted landscape. This tree is not alive in the usual sense. The sky above is familiar yet distant, a canvas painted in muted tones. Your body feels lighter in some places, heavier in others, as if invisible hands have taken away what you no longer need to carry. You do not weep or dream. Instead, you simply rest, suspended between memory and oblivion, held in the quiet grace of this timeless place. They are markers without words, traces of farewells whispered into the wind and lost to time. You rise with no urgency, carrying the subtle change within you, a soft unraveling of knots tied long ago. The circle is behind you now, but its touch lingers, a reminder that some passages lead not to endings, but to new ways of being. The path stretches ahead, inviting, steady, patient. Each step feels deliberate, as though the ground beneath you listens and responds. Time loses its usual meaning here. The sun lingers on the horizon, neither rising nor setting, caught in an eternal pause. Your shadow stretches long and thin before you, moving with a life of its own, a companion worn by countless journeys. You wonder, briefly, if it too seeks rest. Each points a different way, some toward the tree, some away, suggesting choices made and unmade, roads taken and forsaken. You do not follow anyone's stake, but let your gaze wander, absorbing the weight of countless silent stories etched into the earth. It is a quiet testament to endings and beginnings, a map of human sorrow and hope drawn without ink or stone. It is a monument to absence, a vessel holding the void of forgotten memories. As you circle it, you notice a hollow carved deep into its bark, an invitation to peer into darkness without fear. Looking inside, you find only blackness, a silence so profound it speaks volumes. The absence of light feels like a soft breath, a pause between heartbeats. Its height is imposing yet welcoming, as though it watches over the plain with quiet patience. You press your hand against the stone, feeling a coolness that seeps into your skin, a reminder that even the oldest things remember touch. There is no gate, no inscription, only the steady pulse of the wall itself, a silent guardian of whatever secrets lie beyond. Historians still debate the origins of this place. Some say it is the threshold between worlds. Others whisper it is the resting ground for forgotten heroes. You choose to walk without certainty, letting the path unfold beneath your feet without question or resistance. The stones seem to hum, faintly, a song almost too soft to hear but comforting all the same. You pause beside it, watching the surface ripple without cause, reflections bending away before they can be captured. There is no mirror here, only the promise of forgetting. Lethe's waters, it is said, wash away memories, but here they seem to cradle them, keeping them just out of reach, like the scent of a dream slipping away at dawn. As you step over the stream, your boots make no mark in the soft mud. The earth itself seems to breathe in your passage and exhale silence. You find yourself walking through a plain, where grasses whisper soft secrets in the wind's absence. They no longer sway but stand rigid, their edges curled like forgotten pages in an old book. You notice how the sun leans low, casting long shadows that stretch like tired fingers over the earth, inviting you to slow down and linger. Your footsteps are light, careful, as if this place remembers every footfall, every visitor, every hesitation. Ahead, a thin stream glimmers faintly, its waters barely moving but refusing to still. The landscape shifts subtly, the grass giving way to low stones scattered across the ground like ancient bones. Rising from this stony ground is a wall, neither built nor natural, but something in between. You step past the wall, the world opening into a shallow basin cradled by the earth. You reach out, fingers brushing the hollow's edge. No magic unfolds, no vision appears. Around the basin, thin wooden stakes rise from the soil like sentinels guarding memories too fragile to name. The trail winds onward, leading you onto uneven terrain strewn with more stones. A clearing appears, marked by a ring of scorched earth neither burnt nor blackened, but cleansed by an unseen fire. Lying back on the cool ground, you feel the weight of the earth steady you, anchoring your scattered thoughts. The light shifts once again, gentle and slow, like the turning of a page in a book read too often. You walk on, neither rushing nor lingering, moving through the softened world of forgetting with calm acceptance. You continue walking, feeling the gentle pull of a world suspended between wakefulness and dreams. The ground beneath your feet softens as moss and delicate ferns creep up to meet you. The trees around you lean inward, their trunks curved and gnarled like wise old storytellers sharing secrets with the wind. Leaves shimmer with a pale silver light, their edges blurred as if seen through the haze of memory itself. You follow it, senses heightened, as the sounds of the forest fade into a soft hush. The path opens onto a shallow pond, its surface so still it mirrors the sky with uncanny clarity. Among them, small creatures dart and shimmer, water beetles with iridescent shells catching the light like tiny stars. These monoliths are weathered, their surfaces mottled with lichen and moss. Their arrangement suggests a deliberate design, though their purpose remains shrouded in mystery. Scholars speculate they were once markers for sacred rites or celestial alignments, but no record confirms their true intent. Their footsteps have faded, but their echoes linger in the air, soft and comforting. The stones behind you stand like silent sentinels, guardians of forgotten truths and gentle forgettings. Dappled moonlight filters through, casting delicate patterns on the forest floor. You move carefully, aware that each step draws you further into the embrace of this tranquil world. You carry with you the weightlessness that comes from release, a subtle lightness that lifts the burdens woven into your soul. Somewhere far off, a nightingale begins its song, melodic and haunting, reminding you that even in places of quiet, forgetting, life sings on. The melody drifts toward you, a lullaby carried by the gentle breeze, coaxing your mind toward peaceful slumber. Some might say this place is a crossroads of sorts, a threshold between what was and what might be. The River Lethe, after all, flows not just through myths but through the collective dreams of humanity, carrying away pain while preserving the essence of being. The trees bow gently in acknowledgement, their leaves shimmering like silver tears caught in moonlight. You find comfort in this delicate farewell, knowing that forgetting is not an end, but a beginning veiled in the hush of night. You walk slowly among them, the stones cool beneath your fingertips, sensing the weight of countless years resting in their silent vigil. You feel the River Lethe's presence not as a force that erases, but as a gentle hand guiding you toward rest, a reminder that sometimes the kindest act is to let go. They move with a grace that belies the stillness surrounding them, a reminder that life persists even in the softest of silences. The air thickens with a subtle energy, not unsettling, but profound, like the hush before a deep breath. You close your eyes, letting the stillness seep into your mind, unspooling tangled thoughts one by one. You smile at the thought, life always finding a way to ripple through the quiet. Time seems to fold upon itself, layering past and present into a tapestry woven with threads of forgetfulness and remembrance. Tiny ripples dance across the water when a breeze brushes the surface, but otherwise, it remains perfectly calm. You stare into its depths, seeing not your reflection, but faint glimmers of shapes and shadows, visions that seem to drift just beyond comprehension. You can almost hear the faint rustle of whispered tales brushing past your ears, but each story remains just out of reach, teasing your imagination with the scent of mystery. Here, the air smells faintly of rain and earth, a scent both ancient and reassuring. Some bear faded, simple swirls, spirals, and delicate lines that hint at meanings lost to the centuries. Historians still debate the significance of these markings. Some suggest they were protective charms, others argue they recorded names or events. You kneel briefly to run your fingers over a particularly smooth piece, feeling the faint grooves like the pulse of a heartbeat, once strong but now dimmed. The sky above holds a subtle twilight glow, as if the sun has paused just beyond the horizon, hesitant to disappear completely. As you move deeper into this quiet realm, you notice how the landscape seems woven with threads of stories long forgotten. Its waters are rumored to hold the power to dull memories, allowing those who drink to forget pain, loss, and regret. Yet, as you watch, the water offers no answers, only a quiet invitation to release what weighs heavily within. You breathe deeply, the cool air filling your lungs and carrying away the heaviness settled in your chest. Among the roots of these ancient trees lie scattered fragments of pottery, shards worn smooth by time and weather. The ground suddenly dips, revealing a narrow path winding gently downhill. This pond is said to be a place where souls once paused to drink before crossing into oblivion. A cluster of reeds lines the edge of the pond, swaying gently in an invisible breeze. Behind the pond rises a low hill crowned with a circle of standing stones. As you stand in the center of the circle, you feel a gentle hum beneath your feet, as if the ground itself holds a memory just waiting to be awakened. In this moment, the outside world falls away. There is no rush, no demands, only the steady rhythm of your heartbeat and the soft cadence of your breath. You think of the countless travelers who must have come here before you, souls seeking solace, release, or perhaps a new beginning. The sky deepens to a richer shade of twilight as you step down from the hill, moving onward with a renewed sense of quiet resolve. Ahead, the path narrows again, winding between slender trees whose branches intertwine overhead, creating a vaulted canopy. The night deepens, wrapping the landscape in soft shadows and muted sounds. As you follow the winding path, the world seems to breathe with you, synchronizing in a slow, rhythmic dance of stillness. Your steps soften until they become a whisper against the earth, a quiet farewell to the part of yourself that clings to pain. You keep walking, and the air begins to grow thick, not with heat or fog, but with something older, quieter. A hush gathers in your chest. The scent of damp earth and slow burning wood follows each breath, as if the forest itself is breathing with you. Every step presses gently into soil layered with centuries of fallen leaves. They do not crunch, they sigh. You are not hurrying. Time here does not allow for urgency. Others believe it is older than any myth, born from the patience of stone and rain. They grow untended but full of purpose. Their scent settles your breath. It is not perfume. It is memory in the form of comfort. You close your eyes for a moment and feel yourself drift not into sleep, not yet, but into a space just between waking and dreaming. Here, the wind carries old prayers and forgotten songs. You don't understand the words. You don't need to. It's enough to feel them move across your skin like the edges of a warm blanket. Their trunks shimmer like old coins, tarnished but loved. You walk beneath them, and they part like dancers, always opening just enough to let you pass. Tiny fungi light your way by luminescent dots, scattered like a spilled constellation across mossy stones. But it doesn't feel unknown. It feels prepared, as if it had been waiting not just for anyone, but for someone moving at your particular rhythm. You walk on. Behind you, the bridge does not disappear. It simply becomes part of what was. The moon rises a little higher. The river flows on. Lethe does not pull you. It follows beside you, quiet and steady. These aren't fireflies. These are earth stars, grounded things that have learned how to glow. You smile, though you're not sure why. The forest is smiling too, you suspect, but in its own quiet language. The river isn't far now. but neither is it rushing. Like everything else here, it waits. It arches gently over a narrow stream, another winding thread of Lethe's many arms. You approach it slowly. Bridges are sacred in old stories. You lean forward slightly and watch a single leaf float by, turning slowly in the current. It does not resist. It does not steer. It simply drifts. There's a lesson in that, you think. Not everything must be guided. Not everything must be held tightly. Some things, like breath, like sleep, like peace, arrive when we allow them to. They mark a crossing not always between places, but often between versions of self. You touch the cool railing, smooth as river glass. The stones carry no carvings, no names, but they hold history. Feet have passed here before. Maybe gods, maybe wanderers like you, maybe someone who once carried a grief too large to keep. You breathe in deeply, not because you're told to, but because your body asks for it. The moon follows quietly, painting silver lace across the leaves. Somewhere nearby, an owl calls not sharply, but like a sigh. You listen, not for meaning, but for mood. The night seems to hum in agreement. You step through a veil of vines. Their tendrils reach toward you with no intention to hold. They brush lightly against your shoulders and arms, as if checking to see what kind of dream you carry. These herbs were once placed in the hands of the dying, in the beds of the weary, in the temples of dreamers. The surface is calm, mirroring stars in slow motion. You move toward it without intent, drawn by the feeling that something might be waiting there. You kneel beside the water. Your reflection appears, then blurs, then reassembles in a way you almost recognize, but only almost. You dip your fingers into the pool. It is neither cold nor warm, just still, as if it exists for reflection, but not recognition, as if it has watched many faces and remembered none. You realize now that this is not just a clearing. This is a sanctuary. No one agrees on its origin, but you know one truth. It is still here. Maybe it once shaded soldiers before battle. Maybe it watched lovers meet and part beneath its arms. Whatever it has seen, it holds without judgment. It offers without explanation. In this clearing, nothing demands answers. The trees lean slightly inward, as if guiding you forward, towards something not hidden, but also those who refused, choosing instead to remember what had carved them into who they were. The philosophers argued over which was better. Some believed memory was truth. Others saw it as chains. Lethe, you realize, is not a command. It is an invitation, a soft place to set down burdens, not to lose them, but to rest from their weight. You let your hand trail in the water a little longer. The ripples answer you gently, but resting just out of reach, like a memory waiting for its final echo to fade. A glade opens ahead, revealed like a forgotten page in an old book. Pale moonlight spills softly through the canopy. In the center of the clearing, an ancient olive tree stands alone. Your back rests against the trunk, the bark rough but grounding, like holding onto a familiar voice. You run your fingers along it slowly, finding its grooves and textures. It's almost like reading. Not a language you know, not a language anyone knows, but the message is clear. This tree has stayed. It has survived storms. It has seen forgetting happen and still remembered how to root itself deeply into silence. Its trunk is wide and twisted, as if it has listened to wind for so long that it began to imitate its spirals. You feel its presence before you reach it, a subtle warmth, not heat, but something living, something waiting. The bark is knotted and furrowed with age, yet you sense a steady rhythm pulsing through it, one that answers your heartbeat without asking permission. You settle beneath its heavy branches. The leaves flicker silver and green in the moonlight, whispering lullabies with no words. In Greek lore, the olive tree is sacred, not just to Athena, but to peace itself. Some say it was a gift from the gods. Around you, the scent of wild herbs, lavender, thyme, and crushed sage lifts softly into the air. The night deepens, but not in darkness. It grows gentler, like a hand lowering a curtain. You rise, slowly, and continue. The path resumes, soft beneath your feet. Ahead, a small pool shimmers beneath the open sky. You think of the myths, now souls who drank from Lethe to forget their pain. You rise again, and the path bends, this time leading you through a grove of silver-leaved trees. The bridge appears with no fanfare. Simple stone, aged with rain and patience. You pause at the center of the bridge. The stream below is nearly silent. Its song is for itself, not for listeners. You take one last breath before stepping off the bridge. Not a farewell, just a continuation. The path ahead is still shrouded in soft dark. You do not feel lost. You do not feel found. You feel paused, and somehow, that is enough. The bridge fades behind you like the last note of a lullaby. Ahead, the path narrows beneath an arch of trees whose branches knit together like old fingers clasped in prayer. The forest deepens, not in darkness, but in quiet. Each step feels less like motion and more like sinking into a memory you never quite lived. The air hums softly. You inhale. It comes from the land itself, reeds rustling, water moving, perhaps even the low hum of memory. Pillars half buried in ivy, stone tiles cracked and softened by moss. The remnants of what once may have been a shrine. The Greeks believed that to drink from Lethe was to forget pain, to begin again without the weight of what came before. Every feature here feels like the afterimage of a place once sacred. You step lightly, honoring what once was without trying to recreate it. The moon rises higher, casting a light so pale it seems woven from sleep. You pass beneath trees draped in soft moss, their trunks wide with silence. There are no markers here, no signs. And still, you never feel lost. The forest does not demand orientation. It only asks presence. Others say that those who drank from Lethe found only emptiness and anchored from memory. They drifted forever. It stretches out before you, unmoving, its surface unbroken. The air is so quiet you can hear your breath enter and leave your body. You sit at the shoreline and press your palms to the earth. It holds you, not tightly, not possessively, just enough to remind you that you are here. The lake reflects nothing, or perhaps it reflects everything. In this stillness, your thoughts settle into layers, like silt beneath calm water. No panic, no need, just rest. But standing here, you sense something gentler. Forgetting is not an erasure. It is a soft loosening. Once, they were maps for sailors and omens for kings. Now, they are simply lights in the dark. You lie back, and the stars press gently on your chest, not with weight, but with memory. The memory of what it felt like to wonder, to wish, to watch the sky and feel both small and infinite. The River Lethe hums somewhere nearby. You don't see it. You don't need to. Its song is already in your breath, your bones, your dreaming. A release from names, from roles, from griefs so long carried they shaped your spine. It is simply the place where your footsteps grow softer, where the rhythm of your thoughts slows to a whisper. Around you, the forest does not end. It simply fades, like music at the edge of sleep. You close your eyes, not to forget, but to forgive the effort of remembering. Lethe flows behind your ribs now, in the spaces where grief once nested. Not to erase, but to soothe. You smile without knowing why. Maybe that, too, is enough. And somewhere far off, the olive tree still stands, leaves trembling in a wind you can no longer hear. It remembers you, even if you forget. Especially if you forget. The river does not ask for your sorrow. It merely makes room for its absence. The language carved into the stone is no longer legible. Time has pressed its fingers into every syllable. You crouch beside a broken urn and feel a strange gratitude. Whatever was worshipped here, whoever spoke the prayers, is gone. But the feeling remains soft, expectant, reverent. A silence that isn't empty, but full of things no longer needing to be said aloud. The melody doesn't call for your attention. It simply exists, like breath. You kneel beside it. The water is perfectly still, unbothered by wind or falling leaves. You lean over, and your reflection greets you like an old friend you've seen in dreams. It is you, but softened, smoothed, simplified. Your features seem held in a gentle pause. You don't search the reflection for answers. You don't ask it to speak. Instead, you sit quietly and let the water be what it is, a mirror that forgets even as it reflects. You begin to understand that clarity isn't always found in sharpness. Sometimes it lives in blur. You let it pass through you, neither clinging to it nor naming it. The myths often spoke of sacred music that could calm monsters, lull kings to sleep, or open the gates between worlds. This song feels smaller, gentler, but no less ancient. It holds you in its tempo, like a boat drifting without anchor or sail, and something in you unclenches. These are not ordinary plants. They are the kind that once crowned the heads of dreamers and mourners alike. Their scent doesn't wake you, it lowers you gently toward sleep. Overhead, the stars begin to soften, not dim, but diffused, as if they, too, are ready to rest. The air thickens slightly, holding a warmth that isn't physical, but emotional. You exhale slowly. You are no longer keeping time. You are part of its letting go. As if the trees are breathing around you, you follow without urgency. The ground beneath your feet is rich with moss and fallen petals. Time feels blurred now, like ink drifting in water. You walk, not to arrive, but to dissolve gently into stillness. As the forest opens again, a clearing reveals itself not with grandeur, but as though it had always been waiting. The moonlight spills across the open ground in soft ribbons. Wildflowers grow in loose spirals, their petals barely touched by the breeze. You run your hand along the bark. It feels warm not with heat, but with presence. This tree has known silence and sorrow and sun. Its roots run deep into layers of forgotten soil. In myths, olive trees were gifts from gods, symbols of peace and renewal. Perhaps this one remembers the hands that once knotted ribbons in its limbs, or the whispered prayers that rose through its leaves. Perhaps it remembers nothing at all, and that too is sacred. A hush lingers in the air, the kind found in ancient places where footsteps are rare. In the center of the clearing stands a single olive tree. Its trunk is thick and gnarled with age, silver bark catching the light in quiet ripples. You move toward it, not to seek answers, but simply to rest beneath something that has endured. You lower yourself onto a patch of moss beneath the olive's wide canopy. Its branches curve overhead like arms drawn close in comfort. Around you, the forest breathes in herbs and hush. Lavender and thyme nestle between the roots, releasing their subtle fragrance into the night. Somewhere beyond the tree line, a sound begins, a quiet melody. It doesn't come from an instrument. Rising slowly, you follow the music into a grove where ruins lie scattered in the undergrowth. Beside the ruins, a shallow pool collects the silver of the stars. Legends say the River Lethe runs near these ruins. The path continues. It winds past low stone walls and overgrown steps that lead to nowhere. Soon you find yourself at the edge of a wide, still lake. The constellations begin to tilt overhead. They shift slowly, telling stories you no longer need to decipher. The final stretch of your path isn't marked by gates or thresholds. The lake stretches before you like a mirror that remembers nothing. It reflects only what is given to it in the moment: the stars, the clouds, the ripple of a passing breeze. In this reflection, you see not your face but your presence, not your features but your stillness. The night presses in softly. The surface of the lake breaks briefly as a single fish rises, then falls again, leaving only widening rings of silence. You approach them, drawn by a hum just beneath hearing. Not sound exactly, but something like recognition. It's said that reeds remember what was whispered into them long ago, just stone now, broken and blank, its temple days long behind it. Perhaps it once honored a goddess of harvest, or dreams, or memory itself. No one can say. The names are gone, but the presence remains. You watch it and realize how gently time passes here. You do not fear the dark. Its surface is still, but not stagnant. It has the feel of breath held between thoughts. You crouch beside it and dip your fingers in. The water is cooler here, deeper. You wonder what it holds. Not visions, not revelations, just quiet. Maybe that's enough. You close your eyes and listen, not to words, to the space where words might have been. Not here, but within. A gentle understanding, softer than thought, that forgetting is not the opposite of love, that to forget some things is not to betray them, but to make room for new quiet, new stillness, new peace. You remain there a moment longer, hand in water, heart unhurried. The stars continue their turning. The lake continues its silence, and Lethe, faithful as always, carries onward, not to erase, but to soften. The dark is soft, it holds you, rather than hides you. Trees line the path like quiet sentinels, their branches high above, weaving patterns that resemble constellations. You think again of the stars. They do not need you to remember them. They shine all the same. This is how memory becomes myth, not in hours or days, but in moments of stillness offered and received. You feel the shift in your chest, not a loss, not even a letting go, but the loosening of a knot you didn't realize you held for so long. The knot of remembering everything, the weight of trying to keep every detail alive. Here, It unspools quietly, a quiet weight in the air, like a sigh held too long. You don't approach it. You don't need to. The ruin doesn't require witness. It endures because the earth still allows it to stand. A child's song, a soldier's secret, the laughter of someone long forgotten. It might remind someone else of childhood, of home, of grief. But for you, it brings nothing. And that, strangely, feels complete. Not everything needs a story. Some sensations are enough as they are. The River Lethe teaches this best not through doctrine, but through the steady grace of its silence. You let your fingers trail across their green blades and wonder what they've heard. The air here smells of cool water and sun-warmed stone, a blend that carries no urgency, only presence. You imagine the stories told by fishermen long ago, when myth was not separate from the ordinary. Some say Lethe could only be found underground. You sit and let your breath settle. The world does not rush here. Even thought moves at the pace of clouds. You remember a line from a text once read, something about how forgetting is not the end of knowing, but the beginning of peace. You never understood it then, but here, beside Lethe's mirror, the words return without need for meaning. They simply exist, like the stars above, quiet and enduring, in the shadowed realms. Others say it appears wherever the soul quiets. Maybe this lake, right now, is one such place. Like a lullaby sung by something older than language. You sit by the water's edge, and the silence wraps around you like a second skin. No need to speak. No one here listens with ears. This place listens with time. Around you, the grass carries dew not from rain, but from memory dissolving. It beads gently on your fingertips when you brush the moss, cool and quiet. You lie back on the slope, letting the dampness of the earth remind you that forgetting is not absence, it is rest. Somewhere in the trees, an old owl stirs. You hear its wings more than its call. The whisper of something watching, something wise, something that doesn't need your name to recognize your soul. The ancient Greeks once believed the dead drank from Lethe to forget their past lives, to walk into the afterlife unburdened. But they also spoke of the river Nemassine for those who wished to remember. Twin rivers flowing through the soul, one whispering sleep, the other a kind of gentle waking. You wonder, now, which one flows through you. Some memories cling, like mist on stone. Others have drifted off like pollen on wind. You make no effort to chase them. Lethe does not demand surrender. It offers permission. You rise slowly and walk along the shoreline. Your reflection follows at a respectful distance, never demanding attention. A patch of reeds sways gently near a shallow inlet. You find a bench stone, low to the ground, worn smooth by time and countless pauses. Beyond the lake, the silhouette of an old ruin clings to a slope. A breeze shifts, carrying with it the faintest hint of lavender. You close your eyes. The scent is not attached to a moment. It floats freely, untethered. Somewhere nearby, a firefly pulses once, then twice, then disappears into the brush. You rise from the bench and walk again, no longer seeking anything. The path ahead curves into shadow, and you follow without question. Near the edge of the lake, a second pool appears smaller, almost hidden, cradled by low stones, and in that space, something shifts not around you. You continue your quiet path, the air cool and damp as you move farther from the lake's edge. The landscape begins to shift again. The terrain softens into wide meadows, blanketed in silver dew. Moonlight settles over every blade of grass, as if nature itself is pausing for breath. Each step you take presses gently into the earth, as if the land were cushioning your passage. In the distance, a low hill rises gently above the plain. Its silhouette is crowned with a sparse cluster of trees, olive, perhaps, or cypress, standing watch over the land, like sentinels from an older age. Their roots sink deep into soil that once drank the blood of empires. You close your eyes, and for a moment, it feels as if you are standing at the edge of both rivers. One of memory, one of oblivion, not forced to choose, only asked to witness. Stars range themselves in familiar shapes: Orion, Cassiopeia, the Great Bear, constellations once used by sailors and shepherds to guide their paths. You think of the people who looked to these same stars, hundreds or thousands of years ago, their lives lit by fire and hope. They are gone now, most of their names forgotten, but the stars remember. In that witnessing, there is a kind of wisdom. You do not need to hold every story. Some can be allowed to drift away, back into the silence from which they came. You are not retracing your path, but curving with it. The earth feels alive beneath your feet, pulsing softly. The world opens up, not with clarity, but with acceptance. You are not here to know all things. You are here to walk gently through the spaces between memory and silence, between myth and sleep, between the stars and the earth, as if the world itself is dreaming, guiding you into another grove. The trees close in overhead, branches curling like fingers, leaves whispering stories you do not fully understand. You let them pass through you, like wind, like dreams, because now you understand not everything needs to be understood. Some things only need to be felt, and others simply let go. And in its dream, your journey continues, not with urgency, but with grace. The meadow below seems endless now, a living ocean of silver-green waves. You see a stone half buried in the grass. Time has worn away its inscriptions, but its shape suggests it was once a marker, perhaps a grave or a boundary. You touch it lightly, and the stone is cool. It reminds you that even the most permanent things fade, that even stone forgets. You stand in silence and feel time stretching in both directions, not as a line, but as a great unfurling spiral. Forgetting is not failure. It is not the loss of value. It is a natural process, like erosion, like sleep. The myths you walk through now are not lost to time. They are simply quieter, softer. They no longer shout their meanings, but hum them beneath the surface, waiting for those who walk slowly, who listen with care. That memory can be impersonal, that perhaps the universe itself remembers differently than humans do, not with names and dates, but with light and movement. The moon now hanging low in the sky, its light diffused through mist and memory. Each step you take feels lighter, not because the journey is over, but because you are no longer carrying the weight of remembering everything. You have made peace with forgetting. You wonder how many generations they have witnessed, how many storms have passed overhead. They do not speak, but their silence carries meaning. It is the same silence held in the water of Lethe, the same silence sung by forgotten voices. Maybe forgetting is a mercy given to those who love too deeply. Maybe memory, too, can be a burden too heavy to bear. You sit up slowly, watching it move, almost animate in its softness. Some say the mist is the breath of the earth, others that it's the voice of the past rising to meet the present. Whatever it is, it calms you. Its presence is quieting, like a blanket pulled gently over tired limbs. Somewhere within that spiral is your own small place, neither fixed nor forgotten. This is a place where the echoes of history linger, where stories settle like dust in the folds of the earth. There are so many, thousands even, scattered across minor texts, scribbled in margins, woven into songs no longer sung, tales of minor gods and forgotten mortals, stories that lived briefly in the minds of shepherds or children before vanishing into the air. They were not less true, they were simply less remembered. No monuments remain, no inscriptions, only the rustle of leaves and the pulse of your own quiet breath. You begin to understand that forgetting is not an erasure, but a release. The memories you've let go of are not lost, they are simply no longer heavy. The hill you approach was once called Namasine's crown, according to myths seldom repeated in popular retellings. While the River Lethe is known as the River of Forgetting, Namasine, its silent sister, is the spring of memory. It is said that the dead, before rebirth, were given a choice to drink from Lethe and forget, or from Namasine and remember. Most chose Lethe. Few dared memory. At the summit of the hill, the wind is stronger. It tugs at your clothing, whispers in your ear, pulls your gaze outward. A strange tranquility settles over you here. You are surrounded by the weight of time, yet unburdened. Some ancient poets claimed that the River Lethe and the spring of Namasine flowed side by side, one of them sweet, the other metallic. The choice was simple in form, but heavy in consequence. To remember was to carry grief as well as joy. To forget was to find peace, but perhaps lose the self. The ancients, with all their gods and riddles, still never found an answer. The debate continues in quiet corners of forgotten texts. The soft murmur of grass under the breeze begins to sound like water again. You lie down beneath the trees, letting the night sky unfold above you. This paradox settles gently within you, that the stars remember, and yet the names are lost. The trees above you creak softly in the breeze. Their roots hold firm, anchoring you to the earth even as your thoughts begin to drift. You think of myths that never made it into the popular canon. A cool mist begins to rise from the grass, swirling around your ankles like a ghost. You begin to descend the hill now, each step downward bringing you back toward the lake, though from a different angle, along the path. And yet, you continue forward, and in that peace, the path narrows again. The forest thickens. You step quietly beneath the canopy, your breath slowing as the light above you fades into soft ribbons. The trees are older here, taller, wider. It is full of breath, of lives that passed through and left no names behind. In these woods, the myths were never written down. That, too, is a kind of grace. You move like water, temporary and yielding, flowing through spaces carved by time. They were carried in the wind, spoken by mothers to children whose faces have long returned to dust. You do not know their names, but their presence lingers in the hush between footsteps. Before science, before maps, before memory had categories and categories had edges, everything was sacred then. A rock could bleed, a river could sing, a tree could whisper secrets. In these woods, you feel that world return. Their trunks are covered in moss the color of sea glass, and the bark is lined with deep furrows like wrinkles worn by time itself. You are no longer in search of anything. You are not solving riddles or uncovering truths. A ring of stones sits at the center, covered in moss, worn by wind and rain. Some of them lean, others crumble. There is no altar, no offering, no inscription. But you sense that this place was once holy, not because of worship, but because of gathering, the letting go of measurement, the release of counting. As you rise, the stone beneath you holds no imprint of your weight. You were here. The air is cooler, scented with pine and soil. Slowly, gently, as if lifting you out of sleep, you follow it without thought, only sensation. The incline is not difficult, but steady, from peace, from fullness, from the acceptance that nothing more needs to be said, done, or known. The world continues, and you are part of it. A quiet note in a long, slow song. There is no final image, no grand symbol, only this stillness, this breath, this gentle turning, and it is enough. The kind of ascent that brings clarity, not exhaustion. At the top, you reach a ridge that opens to a view. You had not expected it. The trees part just enough for the sky to reveal itself pale and infinite. The land rolls below like a painted memory. Hills curve softly into valleys, and rivers wind like silver threads. There are no cities, no fires, no lights, only the soft language of the land. You understand it, though it speaks no words. A root rises in your path and you step over it carefully. Your footfalls make no sound. You are no longer separate from the place. You feel the rhythm of the planet below you, the gentle, turning, the steady hum. You think of all the myths that tried to name this feeling: God, soul, love, silence, and realize none of the names matter. The feeling remains, with or without language. You are moving with it, as part of it. The forest is not a backdrop. It is a being, and you are inside its breath. And now you are gone. The forest does not remember in the way you do. It remembers in growth, in decay, in the soft fall of needles. That kind of memory does not cling. It allows. Humans stood here once. They may have spoken. They may have danced. Or they may have simply stood, as you do now, and listened. You are merely present. Every breath becomes a thread in a larger tapestry, a quiet contribution to something immeasurable and unseen. Beneath it, pebbles glisten like small stars trapped in motion. You crouch to look closer. Each stone is smooth, polished by time and current. The stream has no name. It asks for nothing. You sit upon one of the stones, feeling its cool surface beneath you. None of it belongs to you, and yet all of it feels familiar. Perhaps memory does not live only in the mind. Perhaps it lives in the world, and you are simply passing through its currents. You close your eyes and do not try to think. You let thought happen on its own, like a breeze through an open window. Yet it reflects the sky above, offering a mirror without distortion. You move with care, not out of fear, but respect. The ground is littered with fallen leaves that do not rustle, only soften your tread. From its belly sprout delicate mushrooms, translucent and pale, rising like breath from the body of something once living. There are no warnings, no cries, only the occasional flutter of wings, like the soft turn of pages. You wonder if the stories here were meant to be told in silence, a myth not made of words but of sensation. Moist air, cool bark, the pulse of old roots beneath the soil. Decay has given way to beauty. The cycle continues, slow and quiet. In this place, even endings bloom. There is a sense of watching, not from eyes, but from presence. The silence is not empty. The deeper you go, the more the light shifts. A strange bluish hue takes over, as if the forest floor were underwater. Shadows ripple across the mossy earth like the surface of a quiet pond. You do not search for meaning in it. You accept the color, the texture, the silence. Some things exist only to be witnessed. Here, the path is made not by feet, but by the gentle parting of ferns. Your passage is not marked. There will be no trace of you by morning. An ancient log lies across your path, half sunk into the earth, its wood hollowed by centuries of rain and rot. Above you, birds do not sing. You remember the way myths once explained the world, not with facts, but with feeling. A narrow stream crosses your path. It is no wider than your foot, but its water is startlingly clear. You step across the stream and continue. There is a sensation in your chest now, not anxiety, but a slow blooming awareness. The trees thin briefly, and you find yourself in a clearing. The air is still, not heavy, not warm, just still, the way the earth becomes when waiting. Images drift by, soft and undefined. A child's hand in water, smoke rising from a candle, the curve of a mountain beyond the sea. You open your eyes and find the shadows longer. Time has passed, but you did not feel it move. That, too, is a kind of gift. You re-enter the trees, now darker, now taller. The path begins to climb. You sit again, this time on the earth itself. No stone, no altar, just grass and root and sky. Your eyes close once more, but this time not from fatigue. The path down from the ridge is narrow and laced with wildflowers. They grow in the cracks between stones, in the loose soil along the edges, in places that should not support life but do. They bend in the wind but do not break. Some are bright, like drops of sunlight. Others are muted, the color of faded parchment. None demand attention. They simply exist, delicate and assured. You step carefully, not wanting to disturb their quiet persistence. Each footfall is measured, each breath is slow. There is no urgency, no destination to arrive at. Descent, like ascent, is not a race, but a return. You feel the slope beneath your soles, the steady pull of gravity, the subtle shift of balance as you move lower. The forest floor changes again. Where it had once been thick with moss, it now becomes softer, blanketed in pine needles and dry leaves. The sound underfoot becomes a whisper rather than silence. The trees grow closer together, their trunks straighter, younger. They do not reach as high. Their branches do not twist with age but stretch directly, as if still learning the shape of the sky. Light filters through in slats, thin and golden. It is late afternoon now, though the exact hour means nothing. Time, here, is not measured in numbers but in angles of shadow, in the direction of wind, in the cooling of skin. You do not look at the sky to track it, you feel it on your body. In the light that turns from yellow to amber, a fallen branch lies across your path. Not large, not imposing, but something about its placement makes you pause. You step over it slowly, respectfully, as if crossing a threshold. And in that small gesture, you realize something has shifted. The forest ahead holds a different weight. It feels older again, though the trees are not. The air is thicker, not stifling, but dense with memory. You continue, and the world grows. Quieter still. There is a pond to your left now, small and almost still. Its surface reflects the trees above it with eerie precision. The water dark as ink except where the sun touches it. There are no ripples, no insects skim across it, no fish disturb the surface. It is a perfect mirror, unbroken. You kneel by its edge but do not reach in. Instead, you watch your reflection waver with your breath. You look less like yourself and more like something elemental, a shape, a presence, a quiet observer. The image is not unkind, but it is not familiar either. You hold its gaze for a moment longer, then rise and move on. The trail curves now, curling gently like a question. There are stones set into the path, not by nature but by hand. Their edges are too even, their placement too intentional. Someone once built this way, long ago. before the forest reclaimed it. You follow it without comment, without judgment. Not every mystery asks to be solved. Some are meant to be walked through, not unraveled. A breeze lifts the scent of cedar and wet bark. It carries with it the memory of storms, the kind that break branches but also clear skies, the kind that frighten and cleanse in equal measure. You breathe it in and feel its weight in your chest, the kind of air that feels like beginning. Ahead, a single tree grows at an angle, bent by wind or lightning or the slow pull of the earth. Its roots are exposed on one side, gnarled and pale, yet it lives. Its branches hold leaves. Its bark, though cracked, is not broken. It stands, not upright, but upright enough, a testament to endurance without defiance. You sit beneath it. The trunk is warm against your back, the ground uneven beneath you. You lean into the imperfection. Let it cradle you. Your eyes close not from weariness, but from fullness. You do not sleep. You rest with awareness, the way stones rest, the way rivers pause at bends. When you rise again, the sun has dipped lower. The forest turns golden, then copper, then almost red. Everything glows, shadows stretch and bend. The path becomes harder to follow, not from darkness, but from softness. Edges blur, distinctions fade. The world is not divided here. Everything touches everything. You move forward with care, not caution. The trees begin to thin again, and you sense that something lies ahead. Not a clearing, not a structure, but a threshold. Invisible, intangible, but present nonetheless. You do not know what marks it. There is no sign, only the quiet change in the air, the stillness that settles over the earth like a held breath. Then you see it, a circle of stones, larger than the last, set in a pattern too precise for accident. They rise from the ground like teeth, worn by rain and time. Lichen coats their bases. Moss has crept halfway up their sides. In the center, there is nothing, no altar, no statue, no fire pit, only grass, untouched, untrampled. You do not enter. You stand at the edge and let your presence speak in silence. You have no offering, no intention. You are not here to ask or to declare. You are only here to witness, and that is enough. Around the circle, the forest hushes, even the breeze pauses. The air grows still, not heavy, but sacred. A pause, a breath, a recognition. You remain until the light begins to leave. Then you turn and walk back into the trees. There is no need to linger. You have seen what needed seeing, not with your eyes alone, but with the stillness inside you, that quiet part that does not speak, only listens. It is awake now, aware. It will carry this place with it, not as memory, but as presence. The descent continues, and the forest opens once more. Ferns line the path again, wide and delicate. Their edges glisten with dew. Though there has been no rain, you do not question it. Not everything is made for explanation. Some things are only meant to be touched lightly, and left as they are. You reach a narrow stream again, perhaps the same one, perhaps not. You step across with ease. The stones hold your weight without shifting. The water murmurs beneath you. The sound soft and round. It does not rush. It simply moves. Soon, you recognize the trees, the curve of the land, the color of the sky through the leaves. You are returning now, not back, but through. You are not the same as when you entered, but the forest does not mark your change. It continues as it did before, untouched by your passage, yet somehow part of it. As the trees thin and the light shifts toward twilight, you feel something loosen in you. Not fall away, not break, just loosen. The way a knot gives when it no longer needs to hold. The way a burden lifts when no longer necessary. There is no celebration in it, only quiet release. And when you emerge at last from the trees, you do not look back, not from disrespect, but reverence. Some places are not meant to be seen twice. Some experiences live only in the first passing, and that is enough. There are no signs at the edge of the valley, no markers or monuments, just a subtle change in the way the earth folds itself, a gentle undulation in the land that feels almost like breath. Grass replaces moss, and the scent of pine yields to something lighter. Dried grass, warm soil, the fading memory of blossoms. You step into the open without hesitation. The stillness follows, but it transforms. Where the forest was hushed and inward, the valley is expansive. It listens differently. Its silence does not press against you, but lifts gently. Like mist rising from a field in the morning, you walk, without direction. There are no paths here, just soft inclines and dips, worn smooth by wind and time. The sun is lower now, just above the western hills. Its light stretches long, casting gold over the land. Shadows are less distinct here, softened by the texture of the grass. There are no trees to break the light, only scattered shrubs and rocks, each one a quiet fixture in the landscape. You find it rise and climb it slowly. The wind here is different, wide and wandering, not caught between trunks or tangled in branches. It moves freely, and it touches your skin with a kind of careful indifference. It does not seek to chill or comfort. It simply passes, like time, from the top of the rise. The valley unfolds in all directions. It is not vast, but it has no clear boundaries. One edge becomes the next. Hills blur into the horizon. There are no fences, no interruptions, just earth and sky, in endless negotiation. You sit there for a long while. There is nothing to study, yet everything to see. The angle of light on the grass, the flicker of movement in the tall stems, the rhythmic motion of wind shifting one patch, then another. You begin to understand that this place is not empty. It is full in ways that defy measure, full in its sparseness, full in its quiet endurance. Below, a shallow stream glints in the light. It winds through the valley like a silver thread, thin and consistent. Its course is not straight, but certain. It does not cut the land, it moves with it. You rise and begin to descend toward it, each step sinking softly into the earth. The stream makes no sound loud enough to hear from a distance. Only when you kneel at its edge do you notice the gentle gurgle of water slipping over stones. You place a hand above the surface, feeling its coolness without touching. The water is clear, nearly invisible except where light bends through it. There are no fish, no leaves, no debris, just water, stone, and reflection. You follow its path for a time. The stream does not lead anywhere, yet it goes on. It passes under a narrow overhang of rock, disappears, then emerges again. Its persistence is quiet, its purpose unspoken. You walk beside it, matching its rhythm without trying. Further ahead, a single tree stands at the edge of the stream. Not large, not ancient, but complete. Its trunk leans slightly, shaped by wind or time. Its leaves do not rustle, they shift softly, as though breathing with the air around them. You sit beneath it, the way one might sit beside an old friend, not expecting anything, not offering anything, simply being near. There is a comfort in the tree's posture. It holds its space without apology. It is not tall, but it belongs. Its roots are partially visible, gripping the earth with calm insistence. You rest your back against its trunk and let your thoughts loosen, not fall away, just drift, like silt in water settling slowly to the bottom. A hawk crosses the sky above you, high and steady. Its wings do not move. It glides in silence, a single dark shape against the amber sky. You do not follow its flight, you only notice it, then let it pass. Some things are not meant to be pursued, only acknowledged, then released. As the sun lowers further, the color of the valley deepens. Grass becomes bronze, the sky turns from blue to violet, the light becomes softer, almost tender. You begin to move again, not from need, but from instinct. The day is closing its hand around itself. You do not want to stay in one place too long. Not because of danger, there is none, but because even beauty asks for movement. You walk uphill again, toward the far edge of the valley. There is no destination, only the desire to remain within the slow rhythm of dusk. Each step feels both deliberate and effortless. The land does not resist you. It holds you without possession. At the top, you find a flat stone. It has clearly been shaped by time, not by tools. Its surface is smooth, weathered by sun and frost and the weight of seasons. You sit upon it with reverence, as though entering a conversation you do not need to speak in. Here, the wind changes. It carries with it the scent of stone and the faint tang of distant rain. You lift your face to it, eyes closed. You do not brace against it. You receive it, and in doing so, something within you shifts. Not a revelation, not a moment of clarity, just a soft opening, a loosening of thought, a quiet surrender. You remain on the stone until the sun disappears entirely. The sky does not go black, only deeper. Stars begin to emerge, first one, then another, then dozens. They do not blaze, they do not dazzle, they simply appear, one by one, as if remembering themselves. You do not count them, you do not trace constellations. You let them be what they are, distant, constant, indifferent, and yet, somehow comforting in their silence. The valley at night is not cold, only cool. The grass sighs with each shift in the wind. The stream continues its quiet journey. The tree behind you stands in shadow, its outline still recognizable against the starlit sky. You lie down on the stone. The earth beneath it is solid, unwavering. Your body feels small here, not insignificant, but scaled properly, as though the proportions of things have finally been set right. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to listen more deeply, and, in that stillness, you feel the hum beneath everything, not a sound, but a presence, a quiet vibration, the language of the land speaking in silence. You do not understand it, but you recognize its truth. It is no message, it only is. When at last you rise, the stars are brighter. The valley glows with a silver that is not light, but awareness. You walk down again, each step soft and sure. You do not look for the way back, you do not need to. The land has already marked your passage, not with footprints, but with presence, and it will remember. Even if you do not, you move without fear, without need, without name, only presence, only breath, only now. Morning does not arrive with spectacle, it comes slowly, like a tide reclaiming a quiet shore. Darkness lightens by imperceptible degrees. The stars do not vanish all at once. They dim gradually, becoming memories against a fading sky. There is no fanfare, no sudden illumination, only the gradual unfolding of light across the valley's bones. You are already awake, not because you intended to be, but because the world itself has begun to breathe differently. The wind has stilled, the grass has stopped its whispering. The sky is neither night nor day, but some breathless space between. You rise quietly, as if waking from a thought rather than a dream. The ground is cool beneath your feet. The stone you slept on is dry and smooth, still holding the trace of your body. The air holds no chill, only a clean emptiness. You stand without urgency, without plan. Your body does not resist the moment. It seems to know what to do without command. A faint mist clings to the lower folds of the valley. It moves slowly, as if reluctant to leave. There is a tenderness to its motion, a reluctance to let go of the dark. You descend toward it, not to chase it, but to move alongside it for a while. You follow the shape of the land, the natural pull of slope and softness. The stream is still there, unchanged. Its surface reflects the pale blush of coming sun. The stones beneath the water are darker now, their edges softened by the nights. Wait, you sit by it, knees drawn in, elbows resting, and watch the water pass. It does not rush. It never has. It simply goes. Birdsong begins faintly, not a chorus. Just a few tentative notes scattered across the stillness. Each call is spaced, as if feeling for the edges of the silence. There is no urgency in their music. It is not performance. It is not announcement. It is just part of the air now. The mist begins to lift, not upward, but outward, stretching itself thin until it disappears. The grass beneath it shivers gently. In the new light, dew clings to each blade like memory. You brush your hand across it, feeling the weightless wetness bead against your skin. It evaporates almost instantly. Nothing lingers long here. Nothing needs to. The lone tree by the stream catches the sun first. Its upper branches gild in pale gold. The bark glows with the warmth of life returning. You do not walk to it. You only watch. Some distances are best preserved, not because they are far, but because they are complete. You stand and begin to walk again, not back, not forward, just into the slow unfolding of the day. The land seems to stretch beneath you. Your steps are light. You no longer think of where you are. The notion of place has softened. You are not in the valley. You are of it, ahead. The hills begin to rise. Their contours are gentle, their pull subtle. You follow without decision, guided by gravity and grace. The grass thins as the elevation climbs. Patches of earth appear, dry and red. Pebbles crunch beneath your steps, small reminders of the mountain's patience. As you ascend, the wind returns, not forceful, but steady. It pushes against your chest in long intervals, as though asking questions without words. You do not answer. You do not resist. You let it shape your movement, leaning slightly into its rhythm. The crest is not marked. There is no summit, only a place where up becomes level again. From here, the valley lies behind you, whole and glowing. You see the curves you walked, the stream's winding logic, the tree's quiet place near the bank. Nothing looks different, yet it all feels new. Distance has changed it, not dulled it, deepened it. You turn and face the other side. It is not more. It is not less. It is simply another opening. Hills give way to plains, then to a distant shimmer where the air meets sky. There are no landmarks, no signs of structure or settlement, only the undisturbed land. Endless in its patience, you descend slowly. Each step feels both like leaving and continuing. The valley does not clutch at you. It does not mourn your departure. It offers no farewell. And that, somehow, feels like a kindness. There is no ownership in its silence, no demand, only presence, and the quiet permission to come and go. As you walk, you begin to notice your own body again, not with discomfort, but with awareness. The weight of your limbs, the breath in your chest, the way your muscles speak in small, wordless pulses. You are not tired, you are not renewed, you are simply awake in the truest sense. The sun rises fully now, no longer cautious. Its light warms your shoulders, draws new shadows at your feet. The land ahead becomes clearer, textured with ridges and folds, dry creek beds, scattered stones. There is no path, there never was, but your feet know the rhythm now. Your mind does not ask where it leads. A line of birds crosses the sky, heading east. They fly in no particular order, loose in their formation. They seem to drift more than move. Their wings catch the light and vanish. They leave no trace, yet their flight remains with you. A gentle imprint just behind the eyes. You pause at a shallow ridge, where the grass returns. It brushes against your legs, swaying in the same slow wind you felt in the valley. You sit again, not from fatigue, but from instinct. The earth is warm beneath you. The sky above is vast and indifferent. Here, you begin to understand something, not in words, not in conclusions, but in sensation. The world does not offer meaning. It does not speak in symbols. It simply is, and in that isness, there is something more complete than understanding, something quieter than truth. You lie back, arms stretched, eyes open to the sky. Clouds begin to gather, not storm clouds, not threats, just presence. They pass like thoughts. You do not name them. You do not seek shapes. You let them drift, both above and within. The wind moves again, now with a coolness that brushes your jaw, your hands, your chest. It carries no scent, no warning, only motion. The sun shifts behind a cloud, and the light dims slightly. The moment holds, then pauses. Nothing remains of it but the breath you took. Well, it happened when you rise again. The land ahead remains, unchanged, still quiet, still vast, still open. You walk on. You do not look back. There is nothing to leave. There is only what is carried. The air feels different here, thicker, yet strangely light, as if you are walking through a dream, just barely awake. Each step carries you farther from the world of noise, deeper into something quieter. The leaves above tremble, not from wind, but from memory passing by unseen. The River Lethe flows beside you, its voice hushed, a lullaby hummed by the earth itself. This is not the part of the river that people speak of in stories. This is the stretch where Lethe slows, where time walks barefoot, and even the gods lower their voices. Here, forgetting is not erasure. It is reverence. You pause at the edge of the water. It's clearer than you imagine, silver-tinged, but not cold. The current doesn't tug, it offers. You crouch to touch it, and it gives under your fingers like silk made from fog. For a moment, the world blurs, not from dizziness, but from stillness blooming within. Trees bend over the bank, their roots trailing in the water like tired hands reaching home. You sense that many have come here before, not all mortal, not all lost, just quiet souls, looking for somewhere to rest the things they no longer needed to carry. Across the bank, a half-buried stone marks the spot where an offering was once made. Perhaps a coin, perhaps a name. Whatever it was, the river has not swallowed it whole. It has simply softened its edges. That seems to be Lethe's gift, not the removal of memory, but the easing of its sharp corners. You remember what the ancients said, that to drink from this river was to forget one's past, before reincarnation. But what if the forgetting was never meant to cleanse, only to cradle? What if it's not about starting over, but allowing rest? You walk again, letting the wet sand cool your feet. A grove of myrtle trees rises ahead, their blossoms pale in the soft dusk. The petals fall without sound, drifting onto the river's surface, carried gently downstream like untold prayers. You feel the presence of something old here, not watching, not judging, simply being. Perhaps it's the spirit of Namasan herself, the mother of memory, watching her daughter's river not as a rival but as a mirror. In the hush between remembrance and release, a kind of balance is held, delicate, sacred, and unspoken. Scholars still debate what the waters of Lethe truly did. Did they erase everything, or only what the soul chose to let go? No scroll records the full truth, only stories, passed down like candlelight from hand to hand. Some myths say the souls who drank forgot who they were. Others say they remembered only what mattered most. Perhaps forgetting is not absence. Perhaps it's a deeper form of knowing, like how a tree forgets each leaf, but remembers how to grow again in spring. You pass a vine curling along a branch. It climbs without urgency. You notice now how the world around you is softening. Sounds muffle, not into silence, but into something gentler. A heron stands motionless in the shallows, watching the current. With the patience of eternity, it does not hunt, it simply observes, like the river itself. In its gaze, you feel the weight of time lessening, not disappearing, but settling. Like dust on old furniture, you think of those who sought out Lethe, willingly, not to run from pain, but to rest, to allow themselves a pause. A space where the past could loosen its grip, if only for a while. A bridge appears up ahead, stone, arched, ancient. You cross it without hesitation. The stones are cool beneath your feet, worn smooth by centuries of crossings. No name is carved into its side. No sign proclaims where it leads. It doesn't need to. This place is not about destinations. It is about the space between. As you walk its length, you look down and see no reflection in the river below, only light, fractured into silver strands. You smile. The river is not hiding you. It is reminding you that not everything must be mirrored to be real. Beyond the bridge, the ground flattens into a wide meadow. Wild grasses sway in rhythm with the river's breath. A soft golden light rests over everything, not sunlight, not moonlight, something in between, like the glow of memory before it fades. You lie down in the grass, letting it cradle you. Overhead, clouds drift like thoughts that have no need for words. The Lethe hums nearby, and your breath sinks with it. You feel yourself loosening, not into sleep, but into something gentler, something like forgetting, but kinder, something like surrender, but without loss. The myths of the underworld often speak of Lethe as a river one crosses only in death. But what if that is too narrow a view? What if the river also runs through dreams, through moments of deep reflection, through the hearts of those who finally choose to let go of an old story? Lethe, perhaps, is not a gate, but a garden, a place where burdens are composted into new, quiet. You've seen now how it holds memory tenderly, even as it lets it drift away. You feel no fear in this forgetting, only relief. You rise slowly, brushing grass from your sleeves. Ahead, a circle of stones marks another turning, not an ending, another shape. You step into it, feeling the rhythm shift again. Time softens. Gravity seems to hum rather than pull. In the center, a shallow bowl carved into rock holds water from the river. It's still, unmoving. You don't drink. You don't need to. You understand now. The forgetting has already begun, not by action, but by allowance. Not a violent cutting away, but a loosening of the knots within you. Like hair untangling on its own, a wind stirs, slow and low. It brushes past your cheek, with a softness that feels familiar, though you cannot say from where. Perhaps it is the memory of a touch you once knew, or perhaps it is something new, arriving before you've learned how to name it. You leave the circle and continue. The river beside you no longer whispers, it simply flows, content in its own rhythm. You walk with it. You are not following, you are part of it now, part of the long forgetting, the gentle remembering, the pause between the two. As dusk deepens, The trees return, tall and quiet. Fireflies flicker in the shadows, tiny beacons of presence. You sit once more, this time beneath a tree older than most. Its bark peels like pages, its roots cradle stones. The river is just beyond, still steady, still soft. You feel no need to speak. Even your thoughts now hum instead of chatter. The story continues, not in chapters or scenes, but in currents, in breath, in leaves falling and not needing to be caught. And in the hush, you understand the final truth. This river was never meant to erase you. It was meant to carry you home. There are places the mind visits only when the body has surrendered its chase. A hush settles into your bones, without urgency or announcement. It arrives slowly like dawn seeping into a darkened room. No commands, no efforts, just a gentle allowing. The world shifts when you stop insisting it move. In these spaces, a tension softens into stillness, and the need to guide quietly exits. You become part of the air, the earth, the whisper of presence itself, an observer and participant in a quiet that knows no boundaries. Behind you, the plain dissolves into fog, gentle, pervasive, undemanding. It muffles details, not to hide them, but to rest them. The sharp edges of memory soften, like old linens neatly folded after a season's change. Nothing is lost. Everything is given space to breathe. You pause, captivated by this rebalancing of form and feeling. In its muted tapestry, the world invites you deeper. You walk on, drawn toward an unseen horizon. The fog seems to whisper, no hurry, only soft invitation. The ground begins to rise, not jaggedly or dramatically, but in a slow, steady lift, as though the earth itself is sighing. Your steps become lighter, carrying you into a thinner, quieter air. There is no rush. Every footfall is measured. The land narrows beneath your feet. The sky stretches above, vast, limitless, full of pale possibility. Distance itself transforms, not a barrier, but an opening. You feel less anchored in place and more present in the unfolding landscape. Time seems to arc, rhythmically breathing with you. Soon, grass gives way to smooth stone worn by eras before memory began. Cracks spider across its surface, like ancient thoughts spreading outward. The stone offers reverence, icy, immovable, but never cold. You tread it gently, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. Here lies permanence older than monuments. Here lies a witness to epochs of silence. You move carefully, honoring the stillness, noticing the quiet whisper of mineral beneath your soles. Each breath tastes of clarity, not harsh, but precise, metallic without bite. A long shadow stretches across the rock, the source unseen. It approaches without threat or promise. No sunbeams herald it, no moonlight shapes it. It simply is. You pass through it, and nothing interrupts. It does not cling. It does not demand. It is part of the landscape. You realize it feels neither dark nor light, but neutral as presence itself. This place does not judge. It only witnesses. You feel witnessed, not examined, but attended to. Your body relaxes deeper into this realization. Above, the sky presses closer, muted in tone, a pale dome of slate and ash. It settles atop you with quiet intent. Every sound stops. Even the echo of your breath softens into the stones beneath. This silence holds no emptiness. It is dense with attunement. The path ahead beckons only to stillness, and you follow. Your footsteps fall not in search, but in listening. Each step asks a question. Each pause offers an answer. Here, walking becomes prayer. Presence becomes devotion. At the crest of the rise, you find a broad shelf of stone. It arcs into emptiness, a platform poised at the edge of time. Beneath stretches a sea of gray and white folding clouds like gentle waves. Above, layers of soft tone shift imperceptibly, no horizon to separate earth from sky. You ease yourself down and let the stone hold you. No warmth, no cold, just acceptance, neither below nor above. You dwell between, suspended, present in this place. You belong to the silence and it belongs to you. There is no demand to understand, no need to name what you feel. Meaning exists without articulation. You breathe and it breathes with you. Time becomes thinner, more suggestion than fact. You feel yourself widen inward, stretching into realms of quiet you never knew you carried within. Thoughts drift in and out like petals unwind, never heavy, never clinging, You observe them without engagement, let them pass. In this gentleness, you understand presence itself can be enough. In the drifting clouds you notice a faint glimmer, not a light, but a soft shift in texture, like dew catching moonlight. You neither reach nor linger, you do not question, you watch it fade, and when it does, you do not empty, you deepen, your chest opens, something loosens, attention never named. A quiet expansion happens without effort. You rise, not to leave, but to unfold again. The shelf becomes a path, stone bordered by mat markers, pale as bone yet warmer than silence. You enter the narrow passage, and the hush thickens, almost tactile. The air seems solid with regard, as if the world itself watches with gentle curiosity. There are no watchers, only presence. You slow further, each step becoming listening. The path becomes an unspoken conversation. You sense footprints left by those who walked before you without pride, without claim. A line connects all who've passed here. Into this soft attentiveness, you breathe in tempo with the land, and you feel less like a traveler and more like an aware participant. At the path's end lies a concentric stone circle, its center waiting, its emptiness charged. You step into it and feel a shift, not in wind, not in light, but in gravity of being. Beneath your feet, a vibration, subtle and old, hums under skin. When you stand, you feel both wholly yourself and part of something vast and unspoken. You allow an unnamed knot to unravel, a thread too long held finds slack. You do not name it, you do not claim it, you let it fall. You linger amid the silence, anchored by nothing yet settled. When you choose to walk on, the stone beneath softens, turning into fine sand. Your steps yield sound once more, quiet, soft, deliberate. You notice a hum from within, your heartbeat aligning with the earth's pulse. You sense a gentle return to motion, but one that leaves you fuller, deeper, quieter. Time softens again, a luminous dusk. No dawn, no night, just breath. The light grows gentle as you walk away. The path fades into brightness, both clear and soft. You do not stop at the boundary. You flow onward, knowing the hush remains within. Even as the world reawakens, the stones, the circle, the shelf all fade behind you, but not from memory. They fold into you as peaceful echoes. And when you step back into the place of names and noise, you carry within you the soft grace of the silence you traversed. The path was no longer a destination but a condition. It stretched forward as though it were the continuation of your own breath, pulling you gently without purpose or urgency. It no longer needed to convince you. There was nothing to chase, nothing to reach. The act of walking itself had become the experience, not metaphor, not symbol. Only motion woven into stillness. Your feet no longer sought direction. They moved with the memory of earth beneath them. Even when the terrain shifted into something weightless and undefined, stone softened into powder. Powder softened into a surface with no temperature, no texture, something between a cloud and a silence. There were no shadows here. Light came from nowhere and everywhere. It had no center, no sun. It was simply there, unblinking. It touched no object, because there were no objects left, only contours of space that bent gently around you, like a fabric suspended in windless air. You existed inside it without the need to orient yourself. Forward was not in front of you, it was whatever direction held your next step. Even the memory of time faded. What had once been minutes and hours, days and months, had dissolved into a patternless continuity, not eternal, but beyond sequence. You could not remember how long you had walked, only that walking continued, not out of necessity, but because the absence of movement felt less true than its presence. There was no fatigue, no hunger, no thirst. These had fallen away quietly, like coins slipping through a tear in a coat pocket, unnoticed until their absence became a kind of relief. The body remembered needing them, but the need had ceased to assert itself. This was not a death, it was a soft recalibration. You had simply passed beyond those signals, like moving past static into a frequency of clarity. Occasionally, the path revealed textures so subtle they felt imagined, a rise, barely a ripple, a slope, no steeper than breath held and released. You felt them not through your souls, but through your bones. The earth spoke in gestures now, no longer solid, no longer distinct. It was more like a mood beneath your feet, neither intention nor invitation, only presence. You had long since stopped asking where you were. The question itself had dissolved, worn smooth by repetition until it was no longer sharp enough to cut. What remained was awareness, quiet, round, continuous, not focused on understanding, but on being. To be here was enough, and yet, the scenery shifted again, from featureless mist to the faint emergence of shapes, not objects, but densities. Pockets of space that resisted light slightly more than others. They did not form images. They did not offer familiarity, but their difference was enough to notice. You passed them without hesitation. Somewhere within them, there might have been substance, perhaps memories, perhaps others, but you did not reach into them. You allowed them their own contours. Nothing asked to be grasped. Nothing reached back. Respect here meant absence of intrusion. The air itself became quieter, not because sound had faded, but because something had opened within you. A chamber where no echoes formed. Even your own breath entered and exited without disturbance. You were becoming part of the silence, not merely surrounded by it. You were woven into its rhythm. At intervals, the light changed tones, not dramatically, not suddenly. Like the slow melting of ice into water, it shifted from cool ivory to faint ochre, then to a blue so pale it felt like memory of sky. Each hue lasted long enough to forget the one before it, and with each change, a different kind of thought rose, not with urgency, but with texture. You remembered a field from your youth, a field not remarkable, but wide and uneven, where the grass bent easily under your steps and the wind carried seeds in low arcs. You could not recall why you were there, or what day it had been, only the sensation of freedom, of something unfinished stretching ahead, and then, a river, or the suggestion of one. Not water exactly, but movement, a shimmer that rolled across the space to your left. It made no sound, yet you could feel its current not in your ears or against your skin, but inside your chest, as if your heart remembered the rhythm of flowing and matched it beat for beat. You turned toward it, not to follow it, but to align with it. The ground near it darkened, though it still held no weight. It was as if you were walking beside a story being told without words, without beginning, without end, only flow, only continuity. Somewhere far across it, a flicker occurred. Not light, not motion, something smaller. A pause in the stillness, like a blink in an otherwise unblinking eye. You did not strain to see it. You let it remain distant. Not everything calls for approach. Some things are better witnessed from afar. You returned your gaze to the path. It had grown narrow again, bordered by lines so faint they might have been the edge of thought. They did not constrain you. They only suggested shape, a form of guidance that did not require obedience. You walked within them because it felt right, not because it was required. The terrain around you grew softer once more, almost like walking on breath itself. Each step lighter than the one before. The weight of the world had been released, not by force, but by stillness. This was not elevation, not ascension. It was a settling into something deeper than depth. There was nothing to name anymore. Names belonged to the world you had passed through, the world of form and need and designation. Here, things did not need names. They were known without that burden. You were known too, and you no longer needed to assert yourself. You were part of the recognition, not separate from it. The sky above grew softer, less like a dome and more like a veil, folded gently over the shape of space. It changed colors again, not in order, not in pattern. Pale lavender, dim rose, a hint of silver green. Each hue held a mood, not a message. They did not mean anything, they simply were. You paused beneath that sky, not because you were tired, not because you needed to, but because stillness now required no reason. It was not a lack of movement. It was a presence fully expressed. To pause was to exist without tension. Far off, you sensed the path might dissolve soon, not end, not vanish, but become so like its surroundings that distinction would fade. You did not dread this. You did not celebrate it. You simply acknowledged it. The way a tree might acknowledge the coming of dusk without resistance, without anticipation. You walked on. The ground beneath you softens. The solid earth you've relied upon becomes supple, almost liquid, as if it, too, has surrendered to quiet with each footstep. Memories slip at the edges, no longer jagged recollections but fading echoes. What was once stone now melts into gentle flow. You wander onward, without haste or intent. Drawn deep into the hush, the path has no name, no direction, but still you follow it. Because here is where resistance ends. Here is where the body, mind, and soul finally aligned understands that stillness is not the absence of movement, but the presence of peace. The air is neither warm nor cold. It simply is, wrapping you like breath that belongs not just to lungs, but to the earth itself. You are walking through memory, not your own, but collective, layered, ancient, wise. The land remembers. It does not speak aloud, but it hums softly, in the bones of trees and in the hush beneath your feet. Here, the earth is not firm, but shifting like silt at river bottom. Each step sinks tenderly into layers of time's soft sediments that cling, but do not hold tight. They press around your ankles, not to trap you, but to slow you, to steady you in the moment. You feel the ancient hush of all who came before, drawn by the soft invitation. You can let go now. Above, trees lean inward, their limbs whispering in a language without words. Leaves rest in stillness, recalling names and stories collected through centuries. None are spoken aloud. They do not need to be. You reach the water's edge and settle quietly. The stream is neither cold nor warm, but the temperature you feel when no words describe what you feel. You lower your hand, and it disappears into the quiet flow. No ripple, only acceptance. The water welcomes you as it does the clouds, the wind, the footsteps of those who have walked before. It feels profound, not because something miraculous takes place, but because the simplest thing occurs. You stop asking. You stop comparing, trying, measuring, and in that pause, something real begins. Memories drift up through your skin, but they are gentle now. Pain, once knotted, loosens itself on contact with the river's hush. Gratitude surfaces unexpectedly for the sorrow, for the clarity, for this grace. You remember laughter and silence, the way voices used to echo in old rooms, and then you feel them slide away, not in grief, but with a soft smile. You stand and step into the stream. The water rises to your knees, your waist, your chest, inch by inch, like a page gently turned in a long-loved book. Nothing is lost, nothing is erased, only softened, glided away, dissolved like mist at dawn. Your pulse slows, your breath steadies. Each step deeper brings you further into peace. The river does not demand sacrifice, it offers reprieve. The sharp edges of what you carried are muted now, shaped by the current into forms you no longer recognize but do not need. There is no need to fight forgetting. Here, it does not rob you, it returns you. It becomes part of you. Past burdens dissolve like sugar in warm tea. The water offers wash after wash of calm until even the memory of sorrow becomes a soft petal, floating and unfelt. You do not walk back, you do not remain, you become the flow. You are moving through water, through time, through silence. The river cradles you, holds you. It does not ask for your name, your stories, your regrets. You are enough as you are. Life as you have lived it, weight and wonder alike, rests now at the bottom of the stream. Here, you are not diminished, you are whole, completed, allowed. The sky is reflected above, still but luminous. You watch stars appear slow, soft glimmers of long light folded into night. Or they could be lanterns guiding you deeper into this inner dusk. It doesn't matter. These lights carry no concern. They simply glow. You breathe more quietly now, aware that breath itself can be a lullaby. Wind stirs above just enough to trail your hair. It feels like something you once knew but forgot. Not memory, but memory of not needing remember. The hush grows thicker, gentler, subtle as silk against skin. Your thoughts no longer tick through anxiety or hope. They settle into breathing, a gentle inhale, an even softer exhale. You do not drift to sleep. You drift past needing sleep. You drift into being. The Lethe does not end. Its current continues flowing beyond your skin, beyond your form, into realms both ancient and eternal. There is no finish line, no final scene, only the continuous unfolding of silence, woven between breath and water, between name and namelessness. You are not lost. You are returned, reclaimed from the chase. You float now, not in water but in presence. Awareness thrums at the boundary of sensation, not inside thought. The river becomes your skin. The hush becomes your heartbeat. The world you left behind is no longer distant, it simply is. It does not tug, It does not vanish, it waits quietly, knowing you'll return when it is time. In that quiet, you feel not emptiness, but expansiveness, a softness so deep it echoes with ancient kindness, a space where forgetting is not losing, but return to what you always were, before the world began naming, claiming, asking. In this space, the soul inhales its own stillness. Time is gentle here, skin deep, fluid, unmeasured. You do not mark its passing. You feel it shimmer, the slow dawn of you without burden. Past, present, future, they coalesce into one breath. You breathe once, then nothing more. You are content. Your awareness begins to fold inward, like petals at dusk. You become one quiet point in a river of silence, held, not hidden. You exist without demand or script. You are at peace, not for an hour, not for a night, but completely. A single thought surfaces soft as a feather. Thank you, a whisper from memory, or from the river itself. No reply is needed. The hush says enough. This is the end, and the beginning. You do not open your eyes. There is nothing to see that you haven't already felt. You do not move again. You are Lethe. You are grace. You are home. Sweet dreams.